All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. And this one I wanted to, or maybe you're not watching on YouTube, maybe I post this in my Facebook group or somewhere else, but a video nonetheless. YouTube is the best place to find me though. I wanted to make a video on why, in all honesty, the technical isn't important. It's all in your head at the end of the day. And I want to talk about one of my star students whose name's Bastian, who will actually be here on the channel very soon. Today, I'm having my student Keaton Walker here at the apartment for an interview. I'm actually about to go in my car, pick him up from the airport, bring him here, and we're going to record a video, get some steak dinner, and also he's going to get his appraised lion ring, which is what I gift my students with when they hit that golden 10,000. Ooh, look at that little flash. Can I get that to do that again? There's a little bling there. But yeah, it's got his initials on it, K on that end and W on that end for Keaton Walker. And he is at $10,000 a month. And when you reach $10,000 a month, I actually go ahead and take the initiative to gift you with this gold-plated lion ring. So he's getting his today. But another student of mine, Bastian, who I'm referencing in this video, we've done a handful of calls now, coaching calls, and he's now, his goal for November is $50,000 in profit with his consulting. And what's amazing about him is that the first 2 or 3 calls, we went over technical. I gave him the model. I showed him, here is how you attract clients, here's sort of the idea for sales, here's, the rules to follow on the phone with them, here's, how I've done it, here's some copies of my sales that I've made and how I've made them. And he took that, ran with it to the moon. And now he's aiming for $50,000 this month. 2 days ago, he had a $6,000 day. That's raw profit. And, he's killing it. What separates him from the rest of the students that I've worked with, and what separates, for example, Keaton today, $10,000 a month in profit, from the rest of my students, and what separates maybe me and my success from the average person who tries to start a consulting business of any kind? Well, it all comes down to your perspective of yourself and the way that you view the world around you, okay? And that might sound maybe a little hippie, a little woo-woo, but I need you to listen to this, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you have a positive self-image. And also that you don't make excuses at the end of the day. Because understanding of technical stuff, like, for example, one of the false beliefs I hear a lot is, I don't know how to run Facebook ads, so therefore I can't run an agency. First of all, learning how to run Facebook ads is really easy. So even if you did totally need to learn how to run Facebook ads in order to run a marketing agency, you could do that in a week maybe, and then you'd be off to the races, and you'd be on the front lines immediately of marketing since the birthing of man. So it would take you a week to develop a skill that could make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you don't even need Facebook ads in the first place, because you can hire contractors and have them do the work for you. For example, with my agency, I retain 85% profit margin, because my clients pay me, and immediately that money goes, in large part, where it goes is to contractors and then back into marketing. And it doesn't cost much to market myself right now, because I'm building a platform for myself, which is one of the things that I teach in my coaching and in the upcoming course, which could be linked below if you're watching this a month from now or so. Yeah, so like most agencies, like for example, I was out with this agency that I was learning under, and they do about $500,000, $600,000 a year in retainers, and which isn't bad. And but the problem is they only keep like 80 to 90 of that. Like, that is their cost. That is the average marketing agency, is they do that. They are so horrible at managing margin, because they believe that if the more money is poured back into the business, the better the business is going to be. But all due respect, that's not always the case. There are other ways of reinvesting back into your business other than money inherently. And so, revenue doesn't pay the bills. Revenue doesn't, get you a nice place. Revenue doesn't, help you live the lifestyle you want. Revenue doesn't do anything for you. It's profit that does things for you. And so you're trying to manage profit margins. But anyway, that's a whole other rant. I need to make a whole separate video on that. The point of this video is to tell you and to hopefully reinstill for you the idea that who you think you are is the most important element in building your business. Currently, I'm 19 years old. On November 16th, I turned 20 years old. And at 19, I run and operate a business that generates for me in profit multiple 5 figures monthly in US dollars. How did I do that within 2 years of starting, having started at 17, being pretty much broke besides a small photography business I did on the side, which is also why, I have so much camera gear, if you've noticed that, and I've got a sort of a leniency to the more creative side of things. We have decorated this place is that way, literally so I can just take nice pictures in here. So hopefully that makes sense to the other photographers watching. But yeah, I started at 17 doing that, and now here we are. And how did that happen? So there's a couple key things. First of all, I changed who I associated with. So the people in my network when I was first starting told me all kinds of stupid crap. They said I needed to, all kinds of crazy things. Like the first thing that I heard was that running a business is going to ruin the way you view your work. And I was like, okay, so I guess if I like marketing, which I did enjoy marketing at the time, it wasn't my passion, but I liked the idea of helping businesses grow and, learning how to use the internet creatively. I figured if I started a business, then I'd learn to not like that. That was wrong. I loved it more because you can get paid to do it now. And also the measure upon which you get paid is a great measure of how much value you're bringing to people with the thing that you love. So, there's this popular misconception that the more money you make, the further you get away from your dreams and your passion and that you're a sellout. And it's a total Hollywood lie. It's not true at all. The truth is that as you make more money doing something that you enjoy, as long as you're not subconsciously self-sabotaging yourself along the process, you're going to enjoy it more. And that's the truth that I've experienced. I love this more now that I'm making more money than I did when I was starting living in my parents' basement, making probably $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Okay? So understand me clearly here. Making money doesn't make it different. Okay, that's one of the big false beliefs that people have. Another one is that, you need to know everything. And I want to introduce to you this concept of just-in-time information as opposed to just-in-case information. Most people live with a just-in-case information mindset. And what does that mean? That means they are learning things just in case they need them. And there is no market value in that. There's value in that on a human level. I appreciate someone who's an intellectual giant when you can have a truly valuable conversation with them, and that only comes from study. There's no other place where that comes from. That comes from study, being in the books, and asking the right questions. There's no other route to intellectualism and a general broad understanding of the world that we live in, okay? But when it comes to making money, the type of information you're going to be looking for is just-in-time information. Information that you get because you're currently running into a problem in your business. And so we need to create an environment where we're forced to ask the right questions and then go seek answers to those questions. And the best place to do that is a business. Because if you're just studying, there's no practical application of the material, then you're being forced to create hypotheticals in order to create problems that you could then solve hypothetically. And so the things that you're learning are non-actionable, they don't move the needle for you, and they prevent you from actually moving, because then when it comes time to move, you over-assume how complex the process of moving actually is. That's what I've seen to be the case, and that's where most people stay. So if I could encourage you to do one thing, it's to start right now. Forget the technical stuff. Get out there, start selling something, build an offer that sucks right now, and go and try and sell it, and give refunds as it sucks. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with your first 3 or 4 deals going down the pit. That happened to me. That happens to everybody, man. My first deal with my agency was a $650 a month deal. I think it was somewhere around those lines. And they were paying me monthly. and I under-delivered to hell. Like, I did not get them any results. I over-promised, under-delivered. They didn't get anything from me of any value. And yet, I still, in my arrogance, assumed that I deserved the money in which they paid, and it took me 3 or 4 months before I finally gave them the refund which they rightfully deserved. That's where I came from. They were red-faced angry with me. I remember having an hour-and-a-half long phone call where they just ripped me apart. And this client, I won't say any names, anything like that. We're on great terms now. I've still gone back and done great things for them now that I know a lot more about this industry. But at the time, they even said, look, I feel the need for you to talk to my lawyer. I feel like you've taken something from me that I deserved. Because they were on a lengthy contract, and $650 a month was quite a bit for this business. Okay? Keep that in mind. And so I was red-faced. I was honestly emotional. I could have taken that and said, I can't do this. There's no way I could do this. There's no way I could overcome this hurdle. But that's where hunger comes in. When you have been paid once for something, it's almost impossible to let go of that thing if you have the right personality type, and you can develop that personality type, okay? So, again, back on topic. This video is primarily about your mindset being the most important thing. And why is it the most important thing? Why is the way you view yourself and the way that you view the world the most important thing? Before I get into that, let me offer you a download. In the description, it's going to be totally free. I'm not asking for an email, anything like that. Don't worry about being remarketed to. I just want this to be a free resource for you. And that's not to say that I don't love remarketing to people and that I won't remarket to you in the future, because obviously I have something to sell here. But in the description is a keynote that I've made up of the identity that I have, along with affirmations that allow me to stay sane. And it's honestly on the desktop on my computer. I can open up my computer, go to the desktop, open this thing up, and I read it, I would say 2 or 3 times a week. So this is fundamental stuff for me. And keep in mind, I designed this affirmation list about 1.5 years ago, okay? And you can look at the affirmations that I'm reading to myself and how true they've become for me today. Because ultimately, we are no more or less than the identity in which we instill into ourselves. We'll never do more. We'll never do less. We'll never be more. We'll never be less. People will never view us more or less than the identity that we've accepted for ourselves. And so what creates your identity? Well, what creates your identity is what you tell yourself over and over again. Maybe you've had negative experiences and those have repeated in your head. That's going to become your identity. Your identity is going to become the negativity that comes with those experiences. Maybe you've had some positive experiences, and those reaffirm in your head. Maybe when you were young, you won a lot of games. Maybe when you were in high school, you were on the football team and you made a star play, and the rest of your high school career was people reaffirming you, and it felt amazing. And as long as you didn't let that ego get to your head, then now you're living a pretty good life, right? So these little things that we collect throughout our lives. Me, growing up, I was a small, and I'm still a small. By the way, I'm 5'9", maybe 5'10", and I weigh like 140 pounds, okay? So I'm a small guy. I'm pretty athletic for my size, I can push some weight, man. But I'm a small guy, and it's really, when I was growing up, that was my bane. Like, being small was my bane. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I felt tiny. I was, like, bite-sized, and that ate at me. It made me feel like I had no control over my life, because if I can't control how tall I am, then, what else can't I control, right? And I was made fun of, I was picked on, and it forced me to kind of accept this identity of being a lowly, tiny, puny kid. And I never really challenged that identity until, I was 17, and I decided, screw it, I'm tired of living this way. I want to change the way that I view myself. And it's not just being small. It was other things as well. I had multiple failures. I had multiple failed relationships. I was never really the easiest guy to be around. I was very judgmental and pushed people away from me. And I had a lot of core personality issues that I was dealing with. And really, I just played a bunch of video games and did nothing else with my life ever. I played Minecraft and, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive. I played Team Fortress 2. I did all that. If you know that realm, that was me. I was a Twitch streamer and everything. I had a charity stream once, and we raised like $600, which was really cool. But anyway, away from that, that was my identity. Download this thing and read it. That's my new identity. That is who I am. And I can say that with full confidence. Not because I'm convincing myself, not because I'm trying to make up for something, but because we are not static beings and you can change who you are. It's that simple. You can take who you are now and change that thing into something better via the means of conscious will. And that's a gift from God. We've been given free will. As God calls Adam out of the dust, he also gives Adam domain over the earth. Adam has domain over himself. We have domain. We're not controlled by this body. We control this body. We control our lives. And so I hope not to sound too crazy, too woo-woo. I don't want to scare people away, but I do want you to understand that if you're making excuses as to why you aren't where you want to be, recognize them as excuses, because there is no excuse. If you're alive, if you've got working hands, working feet, a pair of eyes, ears, a mouth, and a nose, and you can sense the world around you and deduce solutions to problems as you go about your life, then there is no excuse for you not to be building a life that you want to live. Absolutely none. And that freedom, the amount of freedom, but also the amount of fear that might come with the recognition of that free will is exciting. It's exhilarating. And I need you to internalize that. And what's interesting is that in my coaching and in my course as well, this is fundamental stuff. Like, if you feel like you are only capable of a certain level of income, then you're going to stay there. There's a really good book that I would recommend that you read. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. And it's so good that I have my clients read it. I'm not even kidding. It is it is homework reading for agency clients. I've got one client on a $3,500 a month retainer. It's a mix of done for you and some more coaching. It's an interesting deal. He's the founder of this large multi-million-dollar electric company, and he wants to take his knowledge of leading millennial-based teams in his business, which is about 45 members of his business right now, wants to sell his knowledge of millennial leadership to the rest of the market, where they have this false belief that millennials are bad hires, and he wants to fix that false belief. And we're talking, $50,000 to $100,000 packages, maybe a $3,000 course once it's out. We're having the beta group tested right now, and it's going really, really well. And he read Psycho-Cybernetics, and that one book took him from being in a position where he feels like, oh, I don't know about this whole millennial coaching thing. I don't feel like it's going to work. Here's some ideas that I've had that might interfere with it, to essentially looking at this idea and knowing the entire thing front to back without ever having to experience it. Because we've got some real serious computing power up here. And if we tap into, what we are capable of on a conscious and subconscious level, we can piece together a life that we want. And I know that this sounds horribly like Tony Robbins, spirituality, but to me, it's all grounded in truth. It's all biblical to me, even. And, I'm a Christian, and I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ, all these things. And you even look at, for example, if you're Christian, we believe that Christ has died and set us free, right? Totally free. We are free men and women. And what does that mean to be free? Free from what? Well, free from sin. And what does sin represent? Sin is this Greek word that represents the missing of a target for an archer. So you're aiming and you miss the target, that's sin. So it implies that there is a target. And it also implies that we could adjust our aim and, hit the target. That's free will, right? We're free now from being effectively forced to sin. We no longer have to, right? And not only that, but even if we do, then we're forgiven. And so we're given the opportunity to adjust our aim. And I know maybe you're not religious, maybe you're not Christian, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I have no credence against you. But I do want you to understand that even at a core level, that even the most historic of authors and writers for mankind recognize that we have this level of free will and control over our lives that has been given to us by God in my eyes, but maybe in yours, whatever it may be, the universe or something like that. But we have free will and we have control. And if you accept that control, then what's funny is, in turn, building a business is really freaking easy. Building a business is dead easy. It is nowhere near as hard as people think it is. It is all kinds of things that I heard when I was first starting. You're going to have to learn how to do taxes. No, I didn't. I hired an accountant. I pay him like $200 a month, and he does all of that for me. I don't have to worry a bit. I text him if I have any questions. He answers my questions for me within the hour. If I have any concerns in that area, he's there. He fixes the concern, and I continue to move. And another thing that I had to learn, you're gonna have to learn how to get better at sales. That was easy. It took me like 6 months. I just read a bunch of books, and here we are, right? Another thing I learned was you're going to have to get really good at admin work. No, you don't. You can hire a virtual assistant, and they can do all of that for you. Guys, it's the free market. There is no excuse for anyone, okay? If you live in 2019 and above, in any form of Western civilization, and there's not some sort of a government tyranny keeping everybody down and in the pits of poverty, which is some countries, but if you're watching this video, it's probably not you, then you have no excuses. And free will is your friend, not your enemy, okay? So, whether your goal is $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month or $1 million a month or whatever, I've seen people at every end of that spectrum. I've met, networked with, and worked with people who are on all ends of that degree. Today, I have my student Keaton coming out. He's getting his lion ring, and he's making $10,000 a month from absolute zero. And guess what he thought? Guess what his misconception was? He had to go to college, he had to get a business degree, he had to get in debt, he had to do all this stuff before he could even start. The problem with waiting and putting weight on another thing to happen before you begin is that once that thing happens, you get the degree, you get permission from your dad, you get whatever it might be, your friends start to support you, you get better fitness, or you get a better diet, or whatever thing that you're waiting on. Once that happens, you're going to realize on the other side of that your life's no different. I thought that buying this apartment and renting this apartment, which by the way cost me $3,500 a month, that I would view my business different, because now I have a $3,500 a month rent to pay, which isn't that much out of the business at all, but it's just like a nice little bottom. Like, I'm not going to go beneath this. There's no way that I'm not going to be able to pay this month. I have to have that. That can't be any more than 1/10 is what I've decided. Like, that has to be only 1/10 of where I'm at financially and no more, right? That's what I've decided. And instead of budgeting my spending, I create more income, right? But that's off topic. I thought by buying this apartment that I would effectively view my business differently. I've got this cool space. I, can focus on work. The reality is I'm just as lazy and just as, unkept in sort of secretive ways, maybe ways that you guys will never know, as I was when I was in my parents' bedroom, or not my parents' bedroom, my parents' house, my bedroom. And so if you wait on an external variable to come into play for you, you're losing already. Just start. Accept just-in-time information versus just-in-case information, okay? Know that along the way, you have the most powerful library known to man at your fingertips. And it takes you a millionth of a second to source millions of results for any question you might have from people who are accredited in their practice, okay? And that's free. As long as you own a phone and have an internet connection, that's free, okay? So I really just want to kind of elevate people's perspective here, because I think it's really easy to view this, to view YouTube, to view the world as a ball and chain, something that's keeping you down. But that's simply, and I gotta be real with you, that is simply a perspective that you've internalized, that you've never questioned. Things like, oh, capitalism keeps the poor poor and keeps the rich getting richer. Yeah, that's true, because the rich know how to make money and the poor know how to lose it. It's a knowledge thing. It comes into how you view the world. It comes into the circle that you surround yourself with, right? And, you have to ask this question. Do you think, let's say somebody's a multi-millionaire, do you think, and this really defines your worldview regarding money, that if a millionaire were to step into your shoes and live in your life with all the assets that you have, maybe you only have $100 in your bank account, maybe you're still living with your parents, or maybe you're a 40-year-old man or woman with, probably $100,000 to $200,000 in assets for yourself, do you think that a millionaire who has built a company from scratch could step into your shoes and build the same level of net worth from scratch with the assets that you have. If your answer is no, you got to work on that. That will keep you stagnant. If you honestly answered no to that question, work on that, fix that, change that perspective about yourself and about your state. If you said yes, then that's all you need. Once you understand that the difference between where you are and where you'd like to be is, one, a choice, and then two, the work that comes in between that choice and the knowledge that you need to gain, then you realize truly how simple and how easy life becomes. It's really not that hard. There's not a lot at the end of the day to be stressed out about. If you live in the United States of America or in any more Western European countries, we have resources on resources on resources on resources to build whatever we want, okay? And once you realize that and you internalize that, truly nothing's stopping you. And I want to end the video on this. There's this idea that, you are not the accumulation of your greatest goals and aspirations, but you're actually, at the end of the day, really what makes you up is the standard that you set for yourself. Because you're going to fight like hell to not breach your standards. Like, I now have this standard. I have this apartment, plus the car payment, plus a bunch of other stuff, plus I want to own a bunch of really cool things. I'm buying my first Rolex soon, which you guys will see very soon. And, I've got client work I've got to do. I've got to manage family. I've got to manage relationships, friendships. I've got a lot to manage. And it's a matter of perspective, whether that is stressful or exciting. It's simply a choice. Is it stressful or is it exciting? To me, it's incredibly exciting and rejuvenating that I have as much to do on my plate as I do. To most people, maybe it's stressful. To me, I love it. I need it, I crave it, and I want the feeling of balance. I want to take life, embrace its natural chaos that comes with living, and tame it, and make it do my will, because I am a man, and I can do that. So, anyway, though, you're not the greatest goals that you set. You're not your aspirations. You are the standard you set. So what's your standard? What standards have you accepted that you maybe don't realize you've accepted? Because at 19 years old, I'm doing something that very few people have done in their life in the first place, which is start a business. And then very few people have actually run a successful business. And then very few people have, grown a successful business to the point that I have. And even though I feel incredibly small, compared to some of the people in my network, I'm fully aware of how rare what I'm doing is. And I want to, from this position, help people who maybe aren't there yet or want to be there, and help them realize that at the end of the day, all I did was make a decision and embrace the free will that I've been given. And that's all I did. That is all I did, and it's not that much more complex. And 2 books, Psycho-Cybernetics, I'll link that in the description. That's an incredibly, fundamental book when it comes to the identity and changing it. Because if you walk around with a negative self-image, your brain, pretty much subconsciously, is going to sabotage you whenever you begin to rise. You almost have this internal thermostat, practically. I have this thermostat back on the wall. I can set the temperature in the room. Let's say I set it to 68, which is, I like it at 67, 68. I like it a little cold. And so if I set it to 67, what's going to happen is if it gets too hot in the room, the thermostat's going to cool it off so it gets back down to 67. If it gets too cold in the room, the thermostat will heat it back up to 67. And so we kind of all walk around with this number, whether it's our income or our influence, or maybe it's not a number, maybe it's an ideal. We all walk around with this set ideal, this set standard, and we're not going to go beneath it, but rarely will we go above it. So your goal is to simply take that standard, break it, move it up, and put it back together again. Then break it and move it up and put it back together again. So my standard at 17, I was cool with just making $3 or $4 grand a month. That would have been amazing to me. And I did that. And then it got boring. And then I started to lose the money because there was no growth. And there's no such thing as true stagnancy. If you're not growing, you're dying. Okay, that's just the truth. If you're not getting bigger, you're getting smaller. Because the rest of the world's getting bigger. And if you're not getting as big at the same rate as it is, then you're getting smaller. So $3,000 or $4,000 a month sitting there. Sorry about that. The camera cut out. SD card just filled up. So I'm going to wrap this video up. About 30 minutes long. That's good. So anyway, I don't really remember where I left off. At the end of the day, though, whatever your standard is, that's where you're going to settle. And you're not going to do more or less than your standard, because humans, we naturally optimize. We want things to be as easy as they can possibly be, and if we're not raising the standard in our lives, then we have no reason to work harder, okay? So anyway, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it was valuable for you. If it was, leave a like down below. Leave a supportive comment of any kind, and if you're ready to move on to either one-on-one coaching or invest in a real program that's been designed ground up to help you start and grow a highly profitable, successful marketing agency, you can see the link in the description. It's probably still in development, but if you're watching this a month, 2 months after this video comes out, you can check that out, get access to that now. So thanks once again. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.